Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Come on in. How are you this evening? Thanks for hanging out with me. Hello, hello, hello. I'm going to try to get my camera. You know I like my camera angle straight. So, thanks for hanging out with me this tonight. Almost about to be 12 o'clock. So, I guess this is my late night broadcast. So, I appreciate you while you're up hanging out with me. So thanks for joining me. Tonight I'm going to try to be brief as I always do. You know, I always say that, but nevertheless, I don't. But that being said, I have to fix my clothes. I want to be looking right. That being said, I want to revisit this undefined lines. If you were with me last night, you know we talked about undefined lines in relationships. When we say undefined lines, it's basically boundaries or undefined boundaries that you have not set, and some of the issues that can come up when you don't have those boundaries, or when those boundaries are repeatedly crossed. And over time, the boundaries that were set are worn away because we don't express to those who cross those boundaries that those boundaries have been crossed, and we don't express our feelings about those boundaries being crossed. Hello, thanks for joining. Okay, maybe I didn't see who just joined. If I didn't, I apologize. Say hello, tell me where you're from, who you are, and I appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with me. So last night we talked about these undefined lines and these boundaries set in relationships. I want to go back one and talk about with friendships, specifically sisterhood, me being a woman, and how we respond to each other as women. Doesn't mean that men can't. This basically don't apply to men. Some aspects of this applies to men because brotherhood is a different thing than sisterhood. It's both a type of bonding, but women and men are different in the fact of how they think. Hello, thanks for joining. Hi, Lex. Thanks for joining. Men and women are different in the way that how we think and how we respond to one another and to society. I'll use my son as an example. He's more like me, probably because he's watched me and observed me over the years, when he doesn't allow things to get to him quickly. Hi, Joshua. Tell him I said hello, hello, hello. So my son doesn't allow things to get to me quickly. Even in his group of friends, he's not a reactive person. He's one who's more conserved. He thinks the problems through, and then he deals with them that way. Sometimes we as women, we respond quickly before we think. So I'm not saying that's necessarily always what happens, but it happens sometimes. So tonight we're gonna talk about this thing called sisterhood and how that affects us as women when we are in relationships, and how crossing the lines in sisterhood affects us as women, and how we get to the point where we don't trust other women. Because you can say, I've said it before, why does this look so low? Anyway, I've said it before that in relationships, growing up, I was like, oh, I hang around, I can get along better with guys than I can other women. Well, why is that? Why can't I get along with other women? And why can't other women get along with me? What is the issue? Where is the disconnect in our sisterhood that we would rather spend our time with the opposite sex in a friendship way, knowing the differences that we have? Not that we can't have platonic relationships, because we can, but the fact that why can't we bond as sisters and have healthy relationships with other women to the point where we're glad to say, oh, I have several female friends, vice, oh, I don't even deal with females like that because we just don't get along. Well, there's some issues there. There's some reasons why we don't get along, and we're going to ponder those things and probably talk about those things a little bit tonight. Now, I am timing myself, of course, because I don't want to take up all of your time. It's already late, and I do appreciate you for hanging out with me, but I want to respect your time because I respect the fact that you have joined me on this evening. So that being said, let's get right into it. Let's talk about what sisterhood means. Let's talk about the meaning of sisterhood. And I wrote down what it means from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. And sisterhood is solidarity of women based on shared conditions, experiences, and concerns. It's also a close relationship among women based on shared experiences and concerns. Now, that's Merriam-Webster's definition. Now, I added some other things to that. This is my definition. It's that shared solidarity, that shared connection, that shared experiences based on personal traits, based on personal interests, based on your morals, based on your religious preferences, or your personal beliefs. These are things that can bond us and bind us in a sisterhood because we think alike, we believe alike, we act somewhat the same. We connected by a common trait that we are attracted to in that other person that makes us want to have a connection with that other person. So sisterhood is this solidarity. That's I have your back, you have mine type of thing. This is what sisterhood is about. Why can't we get along as women? What is the issue? Let's talk about that. There's no reason why we as women should not be able to get along with one another. We all experience some things alike. There are some things in our lives that we experience alike. If you are a mother, you experience motherhood. Your experiences as a mother may not be exactly the same as someone else, but what you have experienced, you have the ability to share your experiences with someone else because you may be an expert in breastfeeding. You may be an expert in baby food. Whatever that is, you have the ability to share that with another woman. You didn't just go through that for yourself. We share these things together and we learn from each other and we help each other. So that's a part of what sisterhood is. And I'm trying to stay on my notes here, so forgive me. And if we say that we are sisters and in a close relationship with other women, do we intentionally hurt each other? Or why do we intentionally hurt each other? Do we not think about the other person's feelings when we're making a decision? And when I say making a decision, these are boundaries, right? In relationship. If I've dated someone and my close friend, my sister in the part of this sisterhood that we're in, knows that I've dated this person and we experience this, we break up, we're no longer together, but she sees him, she wants to date him, and she does that. Does she not consider the fact that I know my sister was in this relationship, I understand the feelings, I was around, do we not consider the other person's feelings when making decisions in that aspect? And I'm going to talk about that some more later because that's a very important situation, and I'll give several examples. Also, do we act so selfishly that we go after things that we know will hurt the other person just because we want them? So these are some things that we think about in a sisterhood. If we're in a sisterhood, do we intentionally hurt one another? Do we think about the other person's feelings or how it would affect the other person before we act or make certain actions? Or do we even consider, or do we act selfishly in making those decisions, saying, look, that was then, this is now, you're not together, whatever the situation? Do we do these things intentionally, knowing in a situation? If we do, why? Why do we do these things to one another? So I want to go to the concept of birds of a feather, right? Birds of a feather flocking together. Remember I said birds of a feather flock together, or either birds of a feather fly together. You're either going to flock or you're going to fly. So let's talk briefly about chickens, right? I did a little research on chickens, right? Because chickens don't fly, okay? So chickens are always on the ground and they're always eating from the ground. They peck at everything. They peck at each other, and chickens learn to have a pecking order when they're about 3 days old. So fresh out the egg, in a few days, they're deciding who's the boss, who's going to be in this hierarchy of this chickenhood, if I can say that. So in this, we have this pecking order, and as women, we can do that. And when let's talk briefly about the reality shows, right? These women have a pecking order, so to speak. Whenever someone comes in, they're pecking to see, how can I irritate this person? How can I get under this person's skin? It's not about acceptance. Welcome. Come into to our sisterhood. It's always, what is this person? What type of light is this person taking off of me? And that's how we do in relationships with other women. We don't look at the fact that we all have something to give, and we all have strengths. We all have weaknesses. You may be strong in one area where I'm weak. Your strength can help my weakness. But we sometimes don't look at it like that. We should look at the fact that we're not jealous, or we're not what's the word I'm looking for? We're not bothered by the fact that our sister has a positive trait that we don't have. We should be encouraged by that, because where you're weak, I'm strong, and where I'm strong, you're weak, and we help each other in those areas. Vice put each other down and try to use that as a tool to be in this particular pecking order. But as sisters, we can bond based on the fact that we know we're not threatened by each other's strengths. We have confidence in who we are and what we can do, and our confidence is not arrogancy, and it is not even jealousy. We know that we are good in this area, and the fact that I'm good in this area, I recognize the fact that I'm weak in another. So I'm always mindful, and I have humility to the point where I understand that I'm not great at everything. And I can recognize your strengths. I can recognize that you are a beautiful person, that, you have nice hair, or you have a nice shape, or when you put on certain things, certain colors, it makes you glow. I'm not threatened by that, because I know I have my own personal strengths. So going back to this thing about chickens, right? So chickens, once they start establishing the pecking order, right? Even if they are alone by themselves, when they're fed, they try to take it away from they still in their mind thinking about the fact that they don't want to share. The fact that we can get something that the other doesn't have, and we're always trying to hoard something, like, I got something you don't have. Why hoard when we can share? Like I said, if you have a personal trait that I'm weak in, why not share your knowledge with me so we can build each other up? Because you have weaknesses. We don't want to hoard the things that we have just because we don't want somebody to be better than us. Because that's basically what it is for the most part. We don't want somebody to be better than us. Because that's an insecurity. Is it not? The fact that we can get jealous about somebody being able to sing better than us. Hey, I'm not a great singer. I might not even be a good singer, but I'm okay with that. I have friends who can blow. I mean, they are great psalmists. They are great singers, but I'm not threatened by that, because, hey, that's not my area of perfection. That's just something I'm not good at. I understand that, but I'm also not threatened by the fact that she is, because where she's a great psalmist, she might not be a great writer. I'm a great writer. So I don't let her strength overshadow my weakness. We can help each other in that area. So that's one thing about sisterhood that we need to, we're going to do this thing together, and we're here to help each other, right? You don't want to be alone in this world, always thinking that I can't get along with women. Why not? Because there's always a reason, because, men and women just don't get, I've said it. Okay. I have said it. I just don't get along with women. We just don't click. But there's reasons why. Most of the time, it's an insecurity within ourselves that we feel like either somebody's better than us in a certain area. They look better, they walk better, they talk better, their education level is better. So we are threatened, or we feel insufficient in that area, and therefore a little bit of jealousy, even though we may not recognize it as that insecurity that breeds or causes jealousy comes up, where we cannot have a healthy relationship with other women. So back to these reality shows for a moment. Like, I've watched them. I don't watch them anymore because just one particular show several years ago, when I just seen the women, just these adult women just acting like children. And I'm thinking, my friends and I never do that. We never do that. Like, how is this okay behavior? And why, as a woman, would we want to show this type of behavior to the world? The fact that we cannot settle an argument or a disagreement in a way that is healthy, in a way that we both, even though we may not agree, we don't bicker with one another, because basically no one's getting their point across, and all that we're creating is cackling noises, or this noise that is just ridiculous. So as sisters, our goal and our responsibility to one another is to help one another grow. There's a movie that came out maybe last year, before last, I'm not sure. I just watched it this year, the Single Moms Club, and how this club became, how these women got together and created this Single Moms Club, but they all recognized that they were single mothers, and they all had individual issues in their lives, but within all these issues, out of these maybe 4 or 5 women, they all had strengths where the other women had weaknesses. So they found out that they can help each other in these areas where this one didn't know how to, I only watched it once, so forgive me, where one was a little, wasn't as good, and maybe with her children or in relationships, whatever the situation, they recognized the fact that they could help each other, and it didn't help to hurt and talk about one another. So reality shows, when you think about it, what type of relationship is that you have with that person where you feel like you can't be around them, or there's always some type of conflict? I don't understand it, and maybe I never will. How do you constantly be in the presence of someone that you have conflict with without actually trying to resolve that thing? One thing about women and in a sisterhood is, if you can see this board behind me, I'm in my classroom. So this word trustworthy, and it means being dependable and honest so that people know that they can count on you. Can your sisters count on you? Are you the type of person that when you say something, you're going to follow through with it? Can they depend on you when they say, I need you to help me in this area? Can you help me in this area? Are you that person? Because to be, when they, to say, if you want a friend, you got to be a friend, right? If you want trustworthiness from someone, you got to be trustworthy. So we don't want to look for things that we don't ourselves have, or we ourselves don't, characteristics and traits that we don't have. It's the same thing in a relationship. You're looking for a certain type of man to have all these specific traits, but you don't possess them yourself. So the idea of sisterhood is having these defined lines in these relationships that keep us knowing where we're going. We're all going in the same direction. We're all trying to better ourselves, but without having that level of jealousy, insecurities that keep us from bonding with each other. When I talked about the chickens, I want to go back just for a moment, and I'm going to hurry up here. The chickens, when they roost and set this pecking order, they do so because, who gets to eat the food first. They're not consciously thinking about each other's personal strengths and weaknesses. As humans, we have that ability. And I guess I said that earlier, but maybe I just wanted to reiterate that. We have the ability to communicate with one another, where we can find out what you're good at, what I'm good at, and how we can encourage each other and build each other up. That's a part of sisterhood. And when we have these, we understand these traits and these personalities in our sisterhood, then we know that we don't cross these lines. Now, I do want to talk about specifically tonight the fact that we can't get along with women and why that is. And one reason I'm going to talk about is in past relationships, and how when we deal with men, the men can be an issue. Okay, men can be an issue. We don't set these lines, these definitive lines in our relationship. It can be an issue. Now, I see this with my younger daughter. I saw this with my younger daughter and her friends. And I also experienced this, personally. I dated, matter of fact, I was married to, when I was married, after I got divorced, someone that I knew pretty well went out with my ex-husband. I didn't really care the fact that she had gone out with him because I was over that. We were no longer together, and her and our relationship wasn't as close as some of my other friends. But on the flip side of that, one of her good friends went out with her ex-husband, and she did not take that very well. Hey, Lex. She did not take that very well at all. Now, me, on the other hand, I did not hold that against her. But remember last night we was talking about crossing that boundary and coming to that lane. Hey, crossing that boundary and coming in that lane when you don't bump that person, but you are focused on what they're doing. Now you have a thing that says, caution, this person has crossed into your lane. This person has crossed the boundary. Now you are forever going to watch them and be like, I need to watch you in this area because you've crossed this boundary, and we haven't really had a conversation about it. Maybe we have, but you didn't see a problem with it. So I have to make sure that I let you know that this boundary is here, but I'm always still going to be watching you. So that happened to me, and then on the flip side, it happened to her and she didn't like it. I didn't care because I didn't feel like I was close enough to her where I didn't think that she wouldn't do it. I'll just put it like that. That's just what I thought about it, the situation. I didn't think that she would not do it. I had a feeling that she would. So in my mind, I had already set that, okay, this is the category I'm going to put both of them in this situation. So also with the younger girls, I'm seeing that younger girls these days do not understand loyalty. And that's basically a part of sisterhood. You're loyal. You have this loyalty to one another. You support each other. You are there for each other. Loyalty is basically an unswerving allegiance. That's Merriam-Webster also. An unswerving allegiance. You have this allegiance with somebody that nothing can take you away from this allegiance with this particular person or with this group of women. No one can penetrate this allegiance and tear it up because you are loyal to these people. Thanks for the hearts. You're loyal to these people, this group of women or this woman, because you're saying my relationship with you is worth more than anything outside of us that will cause us to break up our sisterhood. So I'm going to talk briefly about how we cross these boundaries and how I've seen young women cross these boundaries, and how perhaps we're not teaching our young women or our young girls about these boundaries in relationships. Now, my daughter, when she was going to public school, she had this one friend that just lives right a few houses down from us. So her little friend is dating one of the little boys in school. This is like 5th or 6th grade, okay? So they're not really dating, I hope. But that's on them. That's the mom and dad situation. But anyway, so she's dating this little boy. They break up on the bus. The little girl is visibly disturbed. I mean, visibly disturbed to the point where my daughter and another friend had to carry her home. Okay, she was this distraught over the boy. Now, the little girl that helped carry this distraught little girl home recognized she lived right next door to her. She saw the agony, the hurt on her friend's face and pain in her face. That very same day, she went to the little boy's house and asked if they could go out. Basically asking him if he wanted to date her now because the other girl had broken up with him. The same day. Now, as friends, that's a boundary crossed. Not only did you cross that boundary, that was that boundary that was crossed that caused that external damage where you have to separate either temporarily or for good. So that boundary was crossed immediately. And the same thing happened with another one of my daughter's friends. She's coming home. She's telling me these things about these little relationships they're having in middle school. So she has another friend who sets girl A up. Girl A sets girl B up with a boy. Girl A starts liking the boy. So she concocts a plan to break them up so that she can get the boy. So she got girl B and the boy together, but now that she likes the boy, she wants to dismantle this relationship so she can date him. And she did. Now, girl C comes into the picture. She knows nothing about the situation with girl A, and B starts dating the boy. But once she found out, she stopped seeing the boy, and they all didn't. The girl A was cut out of the sisterhood completely because of her manipulative reactions, her manipulative actions, and how she treated the whole situation. And it was just realized by the other girls, we can't trust this chick. You don't want somebody like that in your circle. That's somebody that's flocking and not flying, okay? Girl C was a flyer because immediately when she found out that her friend had dated this boy, she cut the relationship off. No questions asked. She said, that's not how we do. So somewhere along the lines, her mother or somewhere along the line, she saw that as a friend, I would not date someone that you've been with. And this is one thing that we're concerned about in our sisterhood relationships. Is one of the things is men, dating each other's men. This is kind of in the reverse. This would be more about brotherhood. But if you ever watched the show, what is it? That 70s show. All of the dudes on that show dated the same girl eventually over the course of the show. All of the guys dated the same girl. And I'm thinking, how do you, after you've been with her, still maintain a friendship over this? And I guess it's kind of like in The Color Purple, when they were talking about Suge and Mr. and the new husband, talking about how they each had her. And maybe that's a guy thing. But as a woman, how do you have a healthy relationship with your sister, knowing that you have dated someone and she's dated someone, and how that relationship hurt her or how she felt about that relationship, and then you would then go and try to have a relationship with that same man? Are we so desperate for companionship that we would intentionally hurt our sisters and do a selfish act because we want this companionship with this particular guy? Now, someone might say, well, they weren't meant to happen and we were. But as a sister, if you know that would hurt your sister, are you willing to ruin this relationship with your sister for this guy? If you saw how he treated her, what makes you think he would treat you any better? Maybe you feel like she didn't deserve him, or maybe she didn't know how to act with him. That's not how a true sister would respond. We have to be able to be trustworthy in our relationships with each other. Remember, to be a friend, to get a friend, you have to be a friend. And to want somebody to be trustworthy, you yourself have to be trustworthy. I have to be able to be trusted by you, and you have to be able to be trusted by me, so we can be able to have that bond where we have that unswerving allegiance to one another, that we don't let someone come into our group or our sisterhood and break us up over something petty. We don't continuously cross these lines and these boundaries where we hurt one another intentionally. Sisters don't do that. We don't stab each other in the back. We don't talk about one another. If we have issues, why can we not go to our sister and say, sister, in a loving way, this is what you said or what you did hurt me. I want to bring this to your attention. And even if they don't respond the way you think they should respond, you don't hold on to that thing. You deal with it, say, hey, maybe she just don't get it. and you let it go. You don't hold it against her, but you have to reestablish the line. That in itself is establishing, okay, that's a boundary for me. Maybe you didn't know it before, but now it's a boundary. So now if they keep crossing this boundary, now you can decide perhaps, or maybe, or, this person is not who I thought they were, and I don't feel comfortable enough keeping her in my inner circle or her being a part of the sisterhood. But I want to express to you how important it is as women to bond together. We need each other, whether you think so or not. There's some things that male friends cannot do for you. It's good to have them, be able to pound them out and hang out and do things that men like to do. But you need your sisters. We need each other. It is a truth. Raising children or just being single or being married, experiences that we have to share with one another. That's what we're here for, to share our experiences. No one experiences anything alone. Someone somewhere has experienced what you have experienced. It's how you look at that. Hey, Lex, you're back. It's how you look at that experience, how you deal with that experience, and are you comfortable enough sharing that experience with your sister, and are you secure within yourself? Being secure within yourself. Being secure within yourself where you can have a sisterhood of women and you can all fly together. Remember, people who fly together see things from a different perspective. Chickens look up. Eagles look down, okay? Not that you're looking down on people, but you see things from a different perspective, and you can see further, and you can also see more things happening at one time. If you're on ground level, all you can see is what's right in front of you, okay? When you're flying, you can see things for miles and miles around. So, thanks for joining me. I did better tonight on time, but I want you to remember, as sisters, we can have female friends. We can. It's possible, but we have to be trustworthy. We have to be that person that we want someone else to be with us, want someone else to be to us. Thanks for the hearts. Thanks for the love. I appreciate it. But we can't always look at life as, I can't get along with other women. There's a reason why. You choose wisely. You fly with those who are flying. Don't try to fly with a flock, because you'll be the only one soaring and while they're down pecking each other. Okay? We don't peck each other. We don't constantly provoke each other to establish a pecking order or establish a hierarchy in the sisterhood. We all have strengths, we all have weaknesses, and we all can help each other grow in those weak areas without that being a threat to one another. Okay, so again, I love you. I thank you. I appreciate you for joining me and spending your evening with me. I just really do. I really appreciate it. You don't know how much it means to me. I'm trying to express that, but I really want you to know how much that means to me, that you would spend your time with me. I want us to learn how to love each other genuinely from the heart. Genuinely love each other from the heart, and not just do things in actions to be a part of a group. We can do it. We can love each other. We can be with each other. We can have these circles of friends or these sisterhoods where we have these things in common, these things that bind us, that connect us. We can help build each other up. And we can teach our daughters, because it's important to teach our daughters these principles and these concepts, so that when they get older, they don't have to have somebody telling them that, hey, you don't date your sister's husband or ex-husband. That's just something you don't do. That's a line that maybe that hasn't been defined, but you don't cross it. Okay. So thanks for joining me. I love you. I appreciate you. You are smart. You are beautiful. You are intelligent. Do you know how creative you are? You are creative. You are loved. You are wonderful. You are so needed in this earth. You're needed. Did you know that? You are needed. You are the seed carriers in the earth. Can't reproduce without you. Nothing, no seed can be brought forth without you. Men, you're the seed bearers in the earth. You're the seed producers in the earth. And no one can, that seed can't grow if it comes out of you. So remember, you are great. You have so much in you, so much potential that's inside of you, that if you can just do a self-evaluation and say, how can I be a better sister? What can I change about myself, if anything, so that I can get a group of sisters? I can be a part of a sisterhood, a unwavering, what was that word I used earlier? And unswerving allegiance. Well, I can have this unswerving allegiance with my sisters, where we protect each other, we take care of each other, we help each other in this thing. Okay? I love you. Thanks for joining me. You all have a wonderful night, and I appreciate you.